All right, guys. Well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and get started. Once again, thank you everyone for who is attending today. We do have a special treat for you guys. So today, our demonstration is actually going to be by Chef Scott. My name is Anthony Mitchell. I actually work in the admissions department here at Augusta Escoffier Culinary School of Arts on the online division, and I'll be your host today. So today, you guys have an opportunity to take a glimpse into what our students here at Augusta Escoffier Culinary School have at their fingertips on a regular basis. So Chef Scott is actually a certified executive chef who has over 40 years experience in the hospitality industry. Chef Scott has cooked for 2 presidents, Clinton and Bush. He has cooked for over 100 celebrities, and he is a cookbook author, and that book is called the Texas Hill Country Cookbook. And while we're talking about Texas, Chef Scott has also been the Teacher of the Year for all trade schools in Texas, and that's a big thing, especially coming out of Texas. So to all my future chefs on this webinar and all my active chefs, I introduce to you Chef Scott.
Howdy, y'all. How's everybody doing? My name is Chef Scott Cohen. It's nice that you're in my kitchen. This is my kitchen in Bernie, Texas. So we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna make a honey roasted salmon with a heirloom tomato couscous ragout. It's a pearly couscous. I'll show you that in a minute. And a basil vinaigrette. So let's get started. Let's get the show on the road. All right, first of all, you can see that I got some salmon here. All right. So the salmon is fresh. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit of oil, olive oil, and you're going to place it on your pan. All right, and then brush it nicely. Make sure it's coated well. You see that? Yeah. Pretty cool. Check it out. All right. So press that button. Yeah. Okay, so you got your pan, it's oiled. All right. You take your salmon. You're gonna lay it in there. I like to offset if I'm doing more than one piece. You're gonna take a little bit of salt, obviously, right? I'm using kosher salt, and the reason I'm using kosher salt is it melts a lot more evenly, and it's more of a pure salt. A little black pepper. You can use white pepper if you like. All right, very lightly, by the way. Okay, and then you're gonna brush it a little bit with a little oil more. You can take it from the sheet pan, and then you're gonna have your preheated broiler in your oven. You're gonna pop it in there for 2 minutes. That's the first step. Easy peasy. By the way, this dish is very, very health conscious, which is kind of cool, right? So this entire dish, you don't have to use any butter, but I might decide to use a little bit. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do is while we're waiting for that to cook, I'm gonna make a couscous. So first I have some heirloom tomatoes, all right? They start out like this. They're all different colors, aren't they pretty? Look at that. That's so beautiful. Very nice. And then all I do is cut them in half. All right, so I'm gonna put a little olive oil in the pan. Get that heated up. By the way, my stove here, it's very cool. It's an induction stove. What that does is it reacts to the actual pan. The pan has to be a special type of pan, an induction pan. And what will happen is it'll get hot. You can turn it up and down, and it's much faster. You see it smoking already? Look at that. Look at that. How cool is that? Look how fast that was. So induction stoves are used a lot in kitchens nowadays. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wilt these tomatoes. Okay. Now I have a regular vine-ripe tomato here, an heirloom tomato that was pushed on the vine. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to cut it in little pieces to just add a little more texture to my dish. And it really can be rough chopped. It doesn't have to be pretty. Because you'll see, you want your tomatoes to be visible in your couscous. Right? Let's wipe that down. If I get it on the floor, it's okay. I have a bunch of dogs and they'll take care of that. All right, so now I'm going to use this. This is called Israeli couscous. All right, so here is my salmon. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make my honey mustard. So I have honey inside here. I have whole grain mustard right here. So it's mustard that has the seeds in them. And then I have some Dijon. So what I do is I usually use 1 part honey to a 1/2 part whole grain and a 1/2 part Dijon. And mix that. Easy peasy. All right, so I'm going to brush this salmon with it. Check this out. It's that easy. All you do is take it on, spread it nice and evenly. These 3 ingredient combination gives a really good contrast between sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. Those are all the receptors that are in your mouth. That's how we describe taste. So there's some sweet in it, there's sour in it, there's bitter in it, there's salty. Sweet comes from the salmon, sour comes from the mustard, and bitter, and salty comes from the seasoning. Pop it back in the oven for another couple minutes. And then we're going to continue to cook our ragu here. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some shallots right here. These are small onions. They sort of taste like a cross between garlic and onions. So this, what I'm doing here is I'm going to mince it. Let's see. There we go. All right. Let's make sure this is on. Okay. So I'm going to mince my shallot. Just like this. Very simple. Pop it in there. So now I have some shallots in my ragu. You can see it's on real high heat. And then I'm going to add a little touch of garlic that I've minced right here. Pop that in there. I love garlic, so you know what? There we go. Okay. So we're gonna stir that in. This is so simple. Now, once we have that stirred in, we're gonna cook that garlic for about a minute, 2 minutes, no more than that. And then we're gonna add this couscous that we cooked. This is pearly couscous, right? It's almost like a pasta. It's actually a pasta, but they come in little pearls and they come in this packaging here. It says Israeli couscous. So you cook it just like pasta in a little salted water, very simple. And then all you're gonna do is cook it in salted water, shock it in cold water after it's cooked. You cook it for about 6 minutes, right? And it's pre-cooked, and now you're gonna pop it in here. Look at that. Oh yeah. That looking good. All right, look at that. Let's put it all in. Somebody's gonna have some dinner later, and it's gonna be me. All right, there we go. All right, so we got some tomatoes in there. They've wilted. Now you're gonna mix this very nicely. Make sure so it gets nice and hot. Get those flavors blended in. Can you see that? Oh yeah, that's looking good. All right, so we're gonna have that cooked. All right, season it with salt. Now, I don't go crazy with my salt because I don't like a lot of salt in food. Salt is a taste bud enhancer. You don't want to taste your salt. You just want it to make the flavors come out. That's really important to not oversalt things, especially today with everybody on diets, allergic to things, watching their salt, being more health conscious. Now, look, this has no butter in it, right? Doesn't that look beautiful? You don't have to cook with butter. You can cook with beautiful olive oil. Now, the olive oil that I used today was regular olive oil. It's not extra virgin. You don't cook, I don't like to cook with extra virgin olive oil. So when you watch TV shows and they say, you know, cook with olive oil, I'm not crazy about that because olive oil has a low smoking temperature, right? And it'll burn. So I like to use extra virgin olive oil to finish things off. So in other words, when they're done. So here I got some fresh basil. And I'm going to show you a nice fun cut. You're going to take this, you're going to stack these leaves. And on your recipe, it says to tear the basil. So today I figured since I'm doing a demo, I'll show you another cut besides tearing it. But you could just tear this if you wanted and add it to your dish. All right, so what I mean by tear is literally you can just tear it like this, right? Just like this. And you can pop it in here. Very simple. Okay. Okay, so make sure you stir this because the couscous will stick. Right? And if it does, you can add a little water to the pan. It's not no big deal. So I had it on high heat. And now I'm turning it down because basically this ragu is done, right? We seasoned it with salt and pepper. We cooked our tomatoes. And then check this out. Can you see this yet? All right, so I'm going to roll it up in a little bundle. Watch. So it looks like this. And then I'm just going to take my knife. All right, by the way. Here's your smart hand. There's your knife hand is your dumb hand. So your smart hand tells your dumb hand what to do. You're going to make the claw like this. And that way, when the knife goes up and down, it rubs against your knuckles, your front knuckles. All right. And we're just going to make little strips. And I'm pulling the knife back from front to back. Or you can do it the other way too. So you can drag it or you can push it. Drag it or push it. Drag it or push it. Drag it or push it. Either way. All right. Take your time. But you want this to look pretty. Look. Look how nice that is. Nice little strips. And then you're going to pop it right in your ragu. Just like that. Easy peasy. All right. Mix it up. And then you're gonna taste it and make sure it's seasoned right. That's the fun part. And you'll see that the basil just wilts into it. You don't even have to really cook it. The heat from the couscous being cooked is gonna cook that. All right, so I'm turning the oven off and I'm gonna taste this. Bada bee. Very nice. All right. Can you
Chef
see me over
Scott,
here?
Chef Scott, we have a question. Iris Lewis asked if a little bit of fish sauce can be used in place of salt.
For this, I wouldn't do that. It changed the recipe a little bit too much. But
Okay,
if
thank
you
you.
wanted to, you could. If it's something that you like, you sure could. There's nothing wrong with it. So the answer is yes, but for this, I would follow the recipe. But you can always substitute things, always. So if that's something you want to do, absolutely you can do that. All right, so you got your couscous. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. How long did that take to cook? Now, this isn't in your recipe, but if you want to kick it up a notch, like Mr. Emerald would say, you can take a little lemon juice. And what that'll do, it'll bring out the flavor even more. So you
Chef
just-
Scott, we have one other question. What does basil bring to the dish? And that's from Amaya Sanchez. Oh,
Oh, well, it makes it taste more summery. Right?
Dan just answered in the comments. Thank you.
You want a nice herbal flavor in here, right? To up your components. The more items that you add, the more depth your dish is gonna have. So always having herbs in the dish is nice. All right, so you notice, I didn't talk about this, but the salmon broiled for another 2 minutes. This is what it looks like. Check it out. Simple. Now, so you cooked it for 2 minutes with oil on top. Then you cooked it for 2 minutes with the honey mustard. Now we're gonna add it one more time. Then we're gonna cook it 2 to 3 minutes until your fish is about medium. Yeah. I did this dish for my son is getting married, so I did it for the engagement party. And now his bride-to-be wants this dish every time I come over. And every time my son's a chef too, when he made it, she's like, doesn't taste like your dad's. So obviously I like that lady. She's a sweetheart. All right, so you have your couscous. You got your salmon in there. Last thing. So easy to make this dish. It's fast. There's not a lot of preparation. We're gonna make the vinaigrette. So we're gonna take a little bit of Dijon mustard. Dijon mustard is an emulsifier. Emulsifier is something, when you blend oil and vinegar in it, it will help keep it blended together. So it's a temporary emulsion, but it will be temporary for a while because the Dijon will help it. If you put an egg yolk in there, it'll almost be, it won't be temporary. It'll be a regular emulsion where it stays emulsified. It stays blended. So you're going to use 1 part vinegar to 3 parts oil. So that's probably about 1 or 2 tablespoons. Then you're going to take a little bit of salt, again, very little, a little bit of pepper. All right, you're going to take some basil. This one, you can tear it, make a little contrast, or you can just chop it. Let's chop it. Let me show you how to do that. All right. Okay, so you can tear it or you can chop it. If you chop it, you're going to put it together just like you did before, except you're going to chop it. So you're going to drag or you're going to push your knife. All right, and then you're going to just keep cutting it until it has a uniform looking consistency. That's good. Doesn't have to be too small. All right. We're gonna add that last. Let's check our salmon. We don't want to overcook it. Oh yeah. Rock and roll. Almost there. All right. So we have our honey, our mustard, our vinegar. We're gonna use a whip. Fast whip. Slow drip of the oil. So fast whip. If you don't do it fast, it won't blend. All right, so fast whip. Here's regular olive oil. Now this, you could use extra virgin because you're not cooking it if you want. But you notice I'm just mixing it in with a fast whip. All right, it's blending quite nicely. Okay. It's really nice. So we got our Dijon. Now we have our chopped basil. Oh yeah. We're gonna mix that. Then we gotta taste it again. Always taste your food. Almost there, y'all.
Chef, while you're doing the salmon in there, where are you putting the salmon on the rack? And are you doing a high or low broil?
Ooh, very good question, Chef. So I started out in high on the top for the first cook, second cook. On the third cook, I put it on the bottom rack because I wanted to cook through. Very good question.
And then your broil, is that set to a high broil or low broil?
Yes,
or is
high
it-
broil.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef. That's awesome.
Another good question. All right. Okay, so we have our honey mustard. We're going to taste it. Delicious. All right. Here comes the fun part. All right, so that's the dish. Now we're going to plate it. So we're going to clean our area. Get rid of the cutting board. Always work clean. Very important to work clean. All right, here's our salmon. Now you can see some of the outside of the where the mustard hits the pan will get dark. That's why with this salmon, don't have to worry about that because it's not going to get underneath. But you want it dark like that because you want the top caramelized. So don't worry about it if you see it get a little dark in the pan, just as long as the top doesn't get dark. You're all right. All right. Let's use this one. All right. So here you go. Salmon goes here, right on the side. All right. And then you're gonna get your couscous and you're gonna put it on your plate. And then what I like to do is I'll try to shape it a little bit. Watch. Almost like a, so it's nice and round. Did some tomatoes, so you show your tomatoes. Oh, look at that. Oh, that looks so good. All right. All right, so you have your couscous. And you have your salmon. And make sure you wipe the edges of the plate. That's important. Right? And then you're going to take your vinaigrette right there. You're gonna drizzle that right down the center. Make like a line. So it looks like that. Very simple, it'll fall into each other. So you have your salmon, your heirloom tomato couscous ragu, your basil vinaigrette, and then if you want to, this is another kind of cool thing. Inside your basil is always what they call a pluche. It's the center part of the basil, and you can put it on top for a little garnish. Look how pretty that is. Honey mustard roasted salmon, heirloom tomato couscous, and a basil vinaigrette. Ta-da!
That looks awesome. Is it too early to have a piece?
I'm gonna eat that for lunch.
All right.
Oh, by the way, this was my signature dish. I did this in 1990 when I had my first executive chef's job, and the food writer was the most famous food writer ever in the New York Times, one of the most famous. His name was Brian Miller, and he basically said that this is the best honey mustard roasted salmon he's ever tasted in his life. And this dish helped put me on the map in New York City. Can you believe that? Because I was a chef in New York for 16 years.
Well, I can definitely see why. I mean, it looks amazing over here. And the way that you set everything up, it looks so simple, but I know it's going to taste amazing over there.
Oh, one other thing, right? I should show you. Got a picture of that? Oh, I got to take a picture of it. I don't want to break it up. Oh, let me show you something real quick before we go. And I'll take a picture of this. But look, how do you know when the salmon is done? Oh, you thought I didn't know that you were going to ask that. I'm sure you were going to ask that. Okay. So inside, it should be about medium. That's what it should look like. Not overcooked, a little bit pink, nice and flaky. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see that on there. That looks great. I love the way it just kind of slid apart there.
Yeah, that's what you want. No raw parts of salmon. You want it cooked almost through, nice and moist. Another thing that's really good about this dish is if you're in the industry, this is the best dish to do in a restaurant because it holds really well. And if it goes a little bit longer or a little under, it'll always taste the same because the honey mustard really, it almost makes it feel like it's not like candy, but it's sweet and tart. It's really, really good. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Glad you came to my house.
Yeah.
I'm out in the country.
Well, look, so Scott, we're going to make a trip out there because you got two more. Yeah, you got two more pieces in it. Does anybody else have any questions for Chef Scott? Oh, we have one. Tony says, should I brine the fish?
No,
Yeah.
not necessary. Don't want to do that. Don't want to add any salt to that fish.
Okay. Awesome.
Don't need to do that. You would brine a piece like you can brine chicken. That's okay. When I brine something, it's really a bigger piece of meat. Like I'll brine turkey breast, right? That's a good thing to brine. Something that's bigger.
Okay.
That's another good thing to brine.
All right. And we also have a couple people, Chef Scott, that would love to follow you. Is there anywhere they can keep in contact with you?
Yeah, I'm not on Instagram. I'm old school. I'm sorry.
So look, come and join the school. They can have look. They can definitely follow you there.
Maybe I'll get a school link or something.
That
Oh,
is-
by the way, I do have a cookbook. It's called the Texas Hill Country Cookbook, and you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah,
Look for that.
awesome. So we love that. So we appreciate that. Well, Chef Scott, we thank you so much for your presentation. Everything looks great on there. You did an awesome job over here. I'm definitely was taking notes. So now I'm a huge basil fan. So when you put the fresh basil in there, and I also took notes as far as rolling it up instead of tearing it, that is definitely going to be time. Look, help me out a little bit with the time there. So that is awesome.